we had a brake disc on our test bike that was misground, and at the track it started to vibrate, and was there were a lot of challenges to it. In any case, so that rate, it was a good street brake. At that point, EBR, we got the new wheel. They shipped us a new wheel, and we put it on that 1190, and it was a really nice street brake. It really was. But as you said, in racing, and when they had that Hero, they were smoking pads before the race was over.
Here's the reason behind it, and that is that you're essentially saying, okay, the motorcycle is approaching turn 1 at X speed, and we can figure out what its kinetic energy is at that point. You're about to apply the brakes. Then you brake down to the corner insertion speed, and you figure out what the kinetic energy is at that point, a much lesser kinetic energy. And you subtract the one from the other to get the amount of energy that you're going to dump into the brake. Now, the lighter the total disc mass, the higher the brake temperature will rise during that energy dump, whether you're braking for turn 1 at Daytona or wherever it is. And it's very clever to try to make a lighter assembly, or one that steers more easily. Those are admirable goals. It's like when Yamaha adopted Adler's idea of a crankshaft mounted clutch. Oh, well, this will be great because we can make the plate smaller, because now the clutch is turning at engine speed rather than at gearbox input speed. So everything can be made smaller. But then you could only make one really hot start, because all that energy of clutch slip would heat that little stack of 5 miniature clutch plates that looked like they were made for a motorcycle with a 30-inch wheelbase. And the plates warped and cracked. They turned blue. The friction material came off.
They did that with the YZ. Well, they messed with it with the YZF 600, which they called the Thundercat, circa 98, 97. And they changed the primary ratio, and they spun it faster so they could make the clutch diameter smaller. And it was a pretty good clutch, but you could put a lot of heat into it.
Yep.
And it couldn't take it.
Well, this is the same. The reverse problem happens with the brake. If you don't have enough mass in the brake, the temperature can go very high. And you can deal with that if you have friction material that can handle it, and if the disc material is not warping or developing hard spots at that temperature. But some engineering may be required. The other thing is that Yamaha had a problem with clutch start sometime in the first decade of this century, and they did exhaustive testing of friction material until they found a friction material whose grip did not increase with temperature. And what you were talking about, the brake continuing to brake harder and harder while you're trying to brake less, could very well be a case of a positive friction versus temperature coefficient. Mm-hmm. The hotter it gets, the more grip it has. And when you try to make a clutch that works that way, you're going to have a sudden wheelie and have to release, and you've lost the start. Oh, they're all in turn 1, and I'm sitting back here. I think I'll read the book. So, again, these are details that engineers will have to open the handbook of chemistry and physics and call up their favorite friction material suppliers and start a testing program.
All right, understood. Let's continue. Open the book, open your mind, think about small details.
Well, something we've completely taken for granted during this entire conversation is brake hydraulics, brake seals. I mean, we talked about hydraulics a little bit, but we did not talk about brake seals in the caliper. We talked about molecular welding of pad material to the disc and stretching it and then letting go and re-welding. And yep, that's amazing. But the rubber seals, there's a lot of disco, we'll call it magic. A lot of magic happening with the rubber seals, because that fineness of control possibly has a great relationship to how the seals are acting, how they grip.
Well, the
how
thing
they
is,
release.
the thing that you want is that the pads should retract slightly so that they aren't causing drag and horsepower loss while the motorcycle is rolling with the brakes released. So
Understood, SRAM? Against Shimano, understood your piston need to move and to release.
you want some tiny amount of pad retraction, but
But not too much.
you also want the ability for the pistons to advance to compensate for pad wear. And what was found was that the surface finish of the bores in the caliper was an important determining factor here. That with enough texture, the piston would sit there and retract nicely, and gradually the lever would come down a little bit because the pad was wearing away, and then suddenly the lever would come back. What did that mean? It meant that the pads had advanced. They had overcome that grip that the seal had on the texture of the surface, and
Yeah.
they had moved inward a little bit, and now they
Data.
could sit there.
Testing data, real
Yes.
life. Triumph, I want to say Trophy 1200, way back. You know the
Yep.
early Triumph, like 95. I believe it was a Trophy 1200. The brake lever over time would just get softer and be farther from engaging the pads. So you had to pull the lever farther.
Mm.
And I complained about this in my road test back in Cycle News, and they said, "Oh, this happens." And I took it back to the guy who was doing the prep, and he was a very detail-oriented guy, really good mechanic, and he was doing the right job for his personality and jetting carburetors and all the stuff that he was doing. And he said, "Oh, here." And he goes over to the brake lever and he puts a squeeze on it, and he just squeezes it like he's holding the brake lever with both hands, squeezing it. And he does that for 15 seconds. He's like, "Here, check." And he was advancing the pads. He was forcing the pads and the seals to get back into these. He says, "Just do that every once in a while." I'm like, "That's great, but can't we design around this so that I don't have to do that?" Like, I'm all for making things difficult in life, trust me. But yeah, let's just fix that. The opposite of that was Honda. I think it was 954. So the CBR 954 RR. It was that or the 929. They put a coating on the pistons, like a low friction coating on the pistons to help with brake feel and etc. And what we found is that it also made them more prone to knockback. Knockback being like a little bit of wobble in the front wheel, and the brake, the pads are getting shaken back and forth, and just a little wobble on the 954, a little, would make the pistons. I think it was 954. Don't quote me, but it was of that era. It was sort of like 2002-ish, 3, 4, somewhere around there. And the pistons would knock back easier because they had some, I don't know, butter, Teflon, something low friction on them.
Yeah.
And it would give you a surprise going into the next corner, because then you had to, push the pistons back to where you needed them to be to make hydraulic pressure.
Yeah. Well,
Also, very important, as I said, if you ask the Google why do some drivers tap the brakes prior to a corner, the left foot tap on the brake before a heavy braking zone does a couple of things. Gives the driver a chance to confirm their brake still work normally a few hundred feet before the braking zone sets, the brake pad closer to the rotor for better pedal feel. So exactly as they said, sometimes, because that's the technology solution to coat the piston so they can retract even more, so even further in. And that's why the driver actually tap the brake a bit, so he push the pistons into the operating zone, making sure the brake is working optimum, and he don't crash or actually just making sure that he will use the brake consistent in the hard braking zone.
What was a problem with some of the 600 sport bikes that if you went over a bunch of ripples that stressed while the motorcycle was leaned over, the front tire, the front wheel might rock back and forth between the fork legs. And in doing so, the brake disc would push the pads back. And then you'd arrive at the next corner and the brake lever would come so far in that your heart would be in your mouth.
Yeah,
So-
Kevin's talking about deflection of the axle. Little spindly,
Yes.
little tiny, weak-ass axles, allowing
Yes,
the wheel to the whole fork
Tilt
assembly
from side to side, yeah.
to tilt.
And this
Because-
is why, first of all, GP bikes got great big front axles, 25 millimeter hollow axles in the front, whereas in the past, 14 and 17 millimeter axles had been considered normal and perfectly satisfactory. But with motorcycles, things creep up on you. You've got all this tire grip that keeps working away at the problem of let's really shake up this motorcycle. Let's put forces through it for which it was never designed. Maybe if not this year, next year we'll get their attention.
But that's
And more
That's-
engineering is required again.
which is what's beautiful about the progression of technologies. You say like, oh, well, why don't we just take disc brakes back to 1950 and put them on a Manx? Well, nope, because all you're going to do is lock the front and you're down, or
Yep.
you're going to flex the fork so much that, I mean, that's the beauty of what you were saying about Marc Marquez making his brake discs glow. We found the limit again.
Yep.
That's what's great about racing, because it just forces
Keeps pushing.
we got to rush around this track over and over again and see who can do it faster. and people keep figuring things out, and the riders keep, you get a good rider. You take someone like me, and I go from a 75 horse BMW to 190 horse BMW with 50 years of technology, 55 years of technology behind it. And I spent the last 4 days getting my G-forces and my brake feel and my feel for the contact patches all tuned up for a 75 horse 1972 motorcycle. It takes me a really long time to recalibrate. I still knocked off 8 or 10 seconds over my lap times from the old bike to the new bike.
Sure.
But it is hard work. And you get somebody like a Marquez or any of those guys, Moto America riders, like immediately, like, oh yeah, these brakes are better, and I get this lap time. Or you give them a tire. Like watching, even I saw the limit of Nicky Hayden's talent the first time he got during the Dunlop, when you could run any tire you want.
Yeah.
Jim Allen gave him a qualifying tire when he was early in his career, and he'd never had a really killer like the really good ones that last like a lap and a half. Like you get an out lap and you have to go right away because it's gone the next lap. Like
Yes.
that's where you could just turn the throttle.
It's like
Just-
woolen socks. They go shrinking by.
Yeah, and
The tire goes aging past.
I saw Nicky Hayden walking through the pit with his pie-eyed walking toward Jim Allen, and Jim Allen said, "Let me guess, by the time you figured out how good it was gone." And he's like, "Yeah." Well, he didn't make that mistake again. It took him,
Nope.
that was the only session. But he only had a lap and a half. And
Yeah.
it took, someone like me, I mean, I'll never, I'll never take it to the next degree or to anywhere close to those guys. But you take a Marquez and he's found the limit of the best brakes in the world
Yep.
on last year's Ducati.
Yes.
So,
Enough. I will apologize now, because before I asked you who the F are you. You are not Marquez. I don't say this to bully you or to somehow discredit your ability or to push you down or to upset you or make you feel bad. I'm just trying to present the reality, uh, technological reality, so nothing personal. Also, to me, this is the same approach when I think about for my own solutions. I just try to be as sharp as possible. These are just facts. You don't um, you can't say, you can't argue with me or with whoever that you actually or I'm actually need that power, because if I actually need, that means I am Marquez or other racer, I am Valentino Rossi who was good on braking, or whoever. But if not, that means I don't need. Can I still use, can I still buy? Of course you can do whatever you want, but that's not about needing. All right, so that's not about balancing it, that's not about functionality, that's about just mental pleasure or whatever thing, which is fine. I can't be that impolite with things like your opinions, your things like that, you know. But about facts, I try to be as tough as possible, as closed as possible with things like this, because you know, technology and physics are not about my opinion or about your opinion. So that's why I'm trying to be as straightforward as possible. Even at the end of this dialogue, they said the next thing. So with the improvement in tire technology, of course, being able to put more power into the ground, either by throttle, either by cornering, even the old axles, the old rims with spokes, with hubs, could not manage that much. You know, power, JDM power, RB power to JZ power. So that much power. So even though, of course, you can do whatever you want, it's your toy, it's your time, it's your money, you can put whatever you can put. Logically, as technological fact, that object there would lose his balance, wouldn't be able to, let's say, function not near close to an optimum, or let's say a decent way, by just improving and improving and improving either tire power, tire grip, either motor power, you know, for acceleration or for corner. You just lose the front, or the bike just keep wheeling, either by braking power. They said that you would actually put a lot of stress on the forks, actually bending the fork or whatever. It would be just too much power. So that's the idea. You can use the power you need. No one is, telling you that you don't have access to power. I'm just trying to make it very clear that too much power is not good. If you actually need the power, as Marquez managed to touch the limits of the modern contemporary brakes, this is like, for example, a record. Hey guys, there is a new satellite. He landed on the moon. Oh yeah, nice. But the rest of the planet, even in your country who sent that satellite, even in the rest of the planet, will be for 10, 20, 30 years exactly the same. No one cares about that. That's just a thing. Oh, you know, you heard something like this. That dude managed to touch that thing. Are you able to touch the same thing? Not. He's been riding those bikes, those powerful bikes, from age of 10, 14. Have you 20 years in your life, 10 years, 15 years, your young years, to invest and to catch up with him, so you can say, oh, I also touched the limit of the modern brakes. I'm also incredible. I need more now. I need more. No. Or how often you can touch those limits. Or of course, as in the present moments, with aerodynamics, with very high power in the engine of Ducati, of course you need more braking. You know, real braking to be competitive and to stay always on the podium as Ducati do. But anyways, even if you are in top riders, those MotoGP, so let's say 10 top riders in MotoGP, if you are there, fine, you can play with that limit. But even if you are in Superbike, in Isle of Man TT, in Tour de France, in whatever other, you know, not that playing with the edge of the technology side, you don't need that power. Maybe you have a different job. Maybe you don't even need that power. You can survive with a bit less. With the carbon ceramic disc, but not glowing red. So yeah, no problem, you know. I actually bet everything on being fair and to actually recognize the reality as it is. If it's too powerful, all right, let's cope with that power. Let's say, all right, let's manage that much more power, but to accept that is too much power. Or if it's too low on power, braking power, whatever power, all right, we can survive with a bit less power. But if we can actually adjust, man, I need a bit more power, I will present you the solutions for that, which usually are increasing the disc size. I will present you that. I'm not stupid to just say not too much power, too much power. Oh, you're too young to have a 500 horsepower BMW. It's too much for you. You are just a kid, 18 years old. Too much power, too much power. Yes, but I'm not talking about the same level here. I'm just saying that you can adjust a bit higher or a bit lower to just maintain the balance. Now, for me, because I tried to see this video and I forgot about it, actually from yesterday you can see that I swapped very fast between this video and what went on. It's a 10 minutes video of someone reviewing somehow this 4-piston 2-piston. I actually saw a very short portion, 20-30 seconds, and I actually liked the guy somehow, but I'm still curious what he have to say, and after that we'll go straight into business. We have, let's say, 5 hours more of filming today. That's why we started earlier, and everything will be much clearer by each detail we'll got into.
Descoperă sezoane noi.
Oh. Let's finish with durian first, because this is a thing I wanted to show you. I searched for, I watched, as you can see, 6 months ago or something like this. It's about different stupid, purely stupid modern ideas, which are not better because they are just expensive or they are modern. They're just stupid, man. They're just stupid, complicated. For me and you, this thing doesn't serve any purpose. I can be proud that I have this S-Works with this design. I can be proud if I personally design this in this way, I can't be proud if I ride this thing just, oh, it's more complicated. I can't be proud if someone show me this thing and I say, man, incredible machine, oh, this is incredible. If technological fact is that this is just junk, just a stupid idea, of course, this is a stupid idea. Maybe you consider is a great idea, but we don't need to have the same opinion. I'm telling mine, you can remain with yours. What do you say about this?
So we have the S-Works SL8 Tarmac. Okay. And this, how's it going, man? How's it going? You know, it's my wet weather bike. Use it for a bit of bike packing. In the background we have a Scott Addict Orica. So the problem with these, all right, what this video is about, right? So it's the S-Works, AliExpress, and quality. You get a lot of water ingress in the bearings, like water ingress, look at that. So to attenuate the premature wear and tear of the lower headset bearing race, we need to attenuate that premature wear by cleaning inside the bike, okay? So what you got to do is you got to pull your fork out, which is a very standard, easy thing to do, except for this one, all right? To take out this bearing and clean it, grease it and put it back in, clean the fork out, you have to re-bleed. You have to actually cut here, buy a new housing, front and rear, okay? So you're gonna thread it all through the frame, thread it all through the bars, these integrated wanky bars that don't even feel that good. What time is it, you know? It's crazy, man. It's such a bad design. It's an absolute nightmare, okay? So what this does is, this means that the home mechanic will just put this job off because like, oh, put it off. But that can cause, you can get wear in the cables because the cables can be rubbing on the steerer. So this is a very, very dangerous design. Very, very dangerous design because it what's the word? Discourages easy maintenance on a bike like this, on your Scott Addict. Look at that, look how easy that is. I can do that with my eyes closed. Really, I can wear a blindfold and do that.
Me too.
Open your eyes to inspect the steer and stuff, but otherwise, you know, so easy. So this is where the Specialized have really failed in the design of their latest modern bike. I don't call them modern bikes, I call them crap, poorly designed bikes, okay, poorly designed bikes. So yeah, how's the crankset going? Is it snapped yet? No, not yet, it's still going all right. But yeah, crazy, man, crazy.
So, the conclusion, if you'd buy for yourself that bike, would you personally do all those bonus things, all those problems just to maintain your bike so it won't crash with you, so the snap fork happen to you, so you just jump on the street in whatever corner, plunge like in the pool for a failing fork for you? I actually would take care of the bike for me, for the bike, for the next owner, but that means I need to put the time, the effort myself. If I don't do myself, you need to delegate someone so that guy, a mechanic or whatever, do that for you. Again, why wouldn't he just, you know, pull the fork down, clean, wipe, re-grease, back up, no problem. And you need to re-bleed the front brake. Why? Why that much of a headache? Why? Who gonna support that? If you said, oh, I paid 10 grand, 15 grand on that bike. Oh, that mechanic asked me 100, 200 each time for cleaning for... Don't clean... that can be fine like that, no problem. That's not a good approach. Yesterday, he actually mentioned very good that a average Joe go to buy a new bicycle, and he say, "Oh, technology, incredible! The new technology compared to my last bike, my old bike, it's much better technology." No, man, it's about how well maintained and set up and tuned was your old bike, because the gap can be very small between those. But if you maintain, and this new bike being just a stupid concept about the regular maintenance, is just stupid, man. That makes the owner and the riders and the mechanics to actually avoid or clean and regrease, you know, on longer periods, let's say like that. And of course you risk a crash, or just the shape of the bike overall will be just trash if you don't maintain it. How could it be over 5 or 10 years? Trash, exactly like your old bike when you bought the new one. Oh, the new one is incredible, what technology! Because you didn't maintain it, because it was hard. You understood.
Through a brake system I bought, why I chose 2-piston over 4-piston, and maybe what.
Here I stopped this video because I actually said, man, can someone choose 2-piston over 4-piston? And I wanted to share this with you to watch it live.
I chose Shimano over all the other brands that are out there.
Oh, it is getting even better. Shimano over all these brands. Nice. This is a surprise, like I said.
And yeah, we'll go from there, so stay tuned.
I'm actually very curious to find out his opinion.
Okay guys, so I chose Shimano XT Dior 2-piston brakes. Right away, why did I choose 2-piston brakes over 4? In this day and age, more always seems to be better, bigger always seems to be better, whatever.
He won my like. Just with this saying, he won my like. So, and I didn't watch the rest of the video. He's there, you know, a humble man which doesn't think he's Superman, so he need the best power out there, and to flex with the bike here on the couch, making photos of it, or riding to the store and back.
So I chose 2-piston because of where I ride. I don't ride like bike park stuff like downhill enduro. I ride mostly XT track, especially around here, which is where I do like 85 to 90% of my riding. So for me to spend the extra $300 for a set of 4-piston brakes didn't make really much sense to me.
Financially and as usable power in most of the time for his own style.
When you're choosing brakes, think, where do I do most of my riding? What does that riding include? You do lots of enduro and downhill, you definitely want 4-piston brakes.
Or not, but that's the principle. Here is a downhill rider, a journalist from Pink Bike. I showed you yesterday a link from Pink Bike. I didn't knew yesterday about this video, but anyways, I found it. And guess what? He's using on his downhill bike Formula Cura 2-piston, even though there are versions of 4-piston. But yes, in general, yeah, that's the idea. If you ride downhill and enduro, you can choose for 4-piston until you will see this video also, which is very sweet.
You do
The reality also is painful but sweet.
lots of enduro and
The truth.
downhill, you definitely want 4-piston brakes. And if you live kind of where I am, where it's more XC, there's a little bit of downhill, techie, you know, that kind of stuff. You'll
Marc Marquez would be disappointed.
definitely get away with 2-piston brakes. They're not like 4-piston is not the be all and the end all. You have to be realistic about what your needs are. So really, did I need to upgrade my brakes? Yes, definitely. Right now, currently, I have the Shimano MT200s on my bike, and even where I ride, like they're good. They're good. As a starter brake, they're good. But I noticed a ton of brake fade, especially the latter half of this riding season that just ended. And I also looked at an option of just swapping out the levers, putting like XT or SLX levers, or even the Dior 6100 levers on, attached to the B59 brake hose for the hydraulic fluid, still with the Shimano MT200 calipers. I know a lot of people have done that with much success, but progression of my riding is just getting more and more. I know me, and I know I'm gonna need a better set of brakes on there. So I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna do this. And the Boxing Day sales were insane, and I got these brakes for way less than full retail, that's for sure, way less. So that was another kicker. So just quickly, because I don't want this to turn into a review, this is what the lever looks like. It's technically, it says 2-finger, but this is, for me, for sure, a 1-finger, which is great. That's what I wanted. Yeah, it's super light. It already comes filled with hydraulic fluid. The lines are pre-bled. And it does come separate because most frames nowadays are internally routed.
Which is stupid, always stupid. I still prefer externally routed whatever bike. This downhill bike on the dressing is internally routed, but is stupid in my opinion. If you can't justify that, just stick up with external routing, very easy. Put some zip ties and you're ready to go.
This is the BH90 hose. It just comes standard with these brakes. And then the caliper, it does come with finned, Shimano finned metal pads. And it's got an easy access bleed port, a better like through system bleeding experience. Another reason why I chose these brakes is because the ease of bleeding the brake.
Compared to SRAM,
it's got the banjo port here, and it's an inboard banjo port as opposed to an outboard. Inboard, I like that better because you're not going to catch it, or less likely to catch it on something and rip it off. And it also comes with the bolt-on pad instead of the pin, the cotter pin variety. So yeah, super nice brake. I'm a Shimano guy.
me too.
Okay? You either like them, you don't like them. There's a lot of hearsay out there in the interweb saying that the Shimanos do have wandering bite point, but I guess I'll experience that, or hopefully not experience that, once I get them actually on the bike and have a chance to use them. Nice looking 6-bolt rotor, 180 front, 180 rear. I got two exactly the same.
Exactly.
Metal pads, so metal or resin.
Best option.
That's the brake set that I chose. Just for reference, it's the Dior XT M8100. So basically, in a nutshell, you're gonna see all kinds of videos on YouTube, and you're gonna read all kinds of reviews, and you're gonna read all kinds of opinions about brakes and whatnot. The most important things to remember when you're upgrading or thinking of upgrading your brakes is, where do I ride? First of all, where is my progression at? What
At Marc Marquez level, I am Valentino Rossi, Michael Schumacher.
level of rider am I? The better you get at riding, the faster you're going to go, the more braking power you're going to need. Also, if you're riding lots of downhill or enduro track with crazy steep stuff, you might want to look into 4-piston brakes. Just make sure you do your research, do your homework on the different brands. Realistically, think about where you do most of your riding. And also, do you really need it?
So, back again to this review with this statement here in the description. In this video, we'll compare 2-piston and 4-piston brake and help you decide which is best for you and your riding style. Who of these two guys, these two videos, would be your go-to if you want to get an advice, you know, if you want to decide good for you? Who would you listen? This 315K with 151 subscribers, or this one with 2K and 2K? This one who say you to be realistic, or this one to who say that
from more powerful brakes. There's never really a bad time to have more powerful brakes, so even if you're only going up and down a couple hundred feet on your ride, then you're still going to be very happy on your descent with more stopping power.
no shit.
Or realistically, do your homework on the different brands. Realistically.
So, dude, who are you? Who are you? I'm actually presenting myself. How am I? Am I a crook like that one? Have I a big ego like this with 4 piston calipers on the rear? Am I egotistical if I'm saying to you that you need to be realistic? Am I lying? Am I using 4 piston everywhere? I showed you. Am I using 4 piston everywhere? Be realistic. I actually can make this even more interesting for you by presenting you my disc. This is a 180 with a Shimano XT 775 on my Polarix, which is incredible Dior XT wheel, XT hub. So 180 with a 2-piston, best of the best. No burning marks, because I actually can't, as I said, I was honest with you, I can't make these things burn into a flat city like Bucharest. 160 rotor, 2 caliper on Comensal Meta AM. Do you see any burning? Do you see any chicken strips on the tire? Am I that proud of me to say that in general I need more power? Or am I a crook or a stupid lousy, noisy dude to just recommend you like this one? Just buy more, man. You'll be happy.
Area with any vertical descending will be benefited from more powerful brakes. There's never really a bad time to have more powerful brakes, so even if you're only going up and down a couple hundred feet on your ride, then you're still going to be very happy on your descent with more stopping power.
No shit. No shit. You understand now? You understand? And it's not just this guy. You will receive more content, more quantity, and you will understand that it's not this one guy, is all the journalists, most of them, I actually showed you before, and we will jump to the pink bike reviewer who ride 2-piston on downhill bike. You will see his solutions, which actually are real. He actually speak about pads and rotors. In mountain bike you're allowed to use pads and rotors, you're not into road discipline. To be restricted by all those rules, by all those weight things. So you will see how the things are done. He actually said that dual piston is very much for his rear wheel. So it's mind blowing. His solution in that situation was not to downgrade from 2-piston to only 1-piston, but he actually said that he is thinking to reduce the rear disc from 220 to 200, or actually to even 180, which made me KO, purely KO. Anyways, so yeah, who would you trust? I put my money on this guy. Even he's humble, he's a nice guy. He doesn't have his toys here trying to sell you whatever thing. He actually spoke about buying at a discount his products. Yet this guy, when he say what price have this code set, it is actually 50 more than Shimano, and the pistons are actually trash, as you saw the comments about SRAM. Just a pain in the back. Just a pain in the back.
Crazy steep stuff, you might want to look into 4-piston brakes. Just make sure you do your research, do your homework on the different brands. Realistically, think about where you do most of your riding. And also, do you really need it? Do you really need it? That's another one too. We all want upgrades and fancy stuff on our bikes, but do you really need it? As you use your brakes, kind of think about it. Do you notice brake fade? Do you notice, like, you might just need a good brake bleed? If you're one of those people that don't maintain your bike regularly and don't get a bleed, or maybe you get a bleed maybe every second or third season, you should bleed your brakes at least once a season. Usually in the spring, or like right around now actually is the best time to do a brake bleed, or bring it to a bike shop when they're not busy or anything. And a lot of bike shops right now, I've noticed, have maintenance specials on them because they want people to bring their bikes in, because right now business is slow. Another little quick angle, a little quick thought is, when you buy your bike, take a look at what brakes are on it. And if you think that you're gonna, if you're buying a bike and you know you love mountain biking, you might want to take a look at those brakes and say to the sales guy, wherever you're buying your bike, at a bike shop specifically, hey, what do you suggest for better brakes than what's on here? If they're just 2-piston, you know you're gonna upgrade, and you know the brakes are gonna be like a right away kind of upgrade. It might be worth just asking, what's a better set of brakes that you can recommend for this bike, and my style of riding, and how I ride, where I ride. And
whatever you ride, bigger and better.
Usually will give you a deal on a brand new set of brakes. They'll even put them on for you, usually at no or very little cost, because you just bought the bike there.
$250.
And then before you go and pick up your bike, you already got a brand new set of brakes on there. And sometimes they'll give you your OEM brake set, and then which you can just sell it, and then offset some of the cost, or they offset it for you and they just they give you a value for your OEM brakes right away, and they put that against the new set. So it might or it would be worth asking right at the point of sale. So yeah, just some food for thought on brakes. That's my 2 cents. Don't be scared of 2-piston. Or if you think, you know, 4-piston is the way to go no matter what, you know, all this stuff that you read and hear about constantly all the time. It's what I was bombarded with when I was doing my research. My thing is I had to really sit down and discipline myself. Okay, where do I really ride? And do I really need to spend $600-700 on brakes?
Good job, man.
The answer for me is definitely
You're a
no.
legend.
Anyway, thanks for watching. Thank you so much for all the feedback on my last video. And yeah, I guess we're back in full swing here, cranking out videos. So yeah, I got some ideas in the tube there for the next couple. So until then, like, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Incredible, 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 man. In my opinion, incredible review. This is actually a review. This is actually a review. This is crap. Now let's listen the big boys. More deep. Now let me think a bit. No. We will read now different Shimano things, and we will continue with this review as it's stated here. But this is not only a review. This is the naked truth. Is actually a song. Be the naked truth. This is the naked truth. Not about the Formula Cura X brakes. I use Formula R1. I had 3-4 sets of them. Only Formula R1. It's not about that, but it's the mentality. How you choose, how you adapt pads, disc size, how you inspect, how you adjust, and whatever. You will be impressed. Let's put this here, and let's put this here. Very important mentioning. I presented you talking about cars in general, this Toyota MRS Pro Spirit, this legend here, the owner of that MRS at Tsukuba with an incredible time, 59 respectively 56.7 after some upgrades. Even at the Toge it was first car, I think, below 26 seconds with a 25.9, something like, maybe I'm wrong, but anyway, he was in top 3 in the first one, who entered in 26 seconds, overcome by S2000 and RX-7 legends. What he say about brakes, also very important.
And a pedal.
Standard brake. So good.
Brake?
Hi.
No problem.
No problem. Okay.
Oh, Tsukuba.
Tsukuba.
Tsukuba lap time. 59
59.
seconds.
Hi.
Anyway,
Naturally aspirated engine. Used engine.
used engine.
You used engine.
Standard used engine.
Stuck inside.
Standard used engine.
Standard used engine. 59 seconds. So good.
You understood? So the brakes on this racing car, dude, on a racing car, incredible record car, Standard.
Standard brake. So good.
Single customer.
Hmm.
And a pedal.
Standard brake. So good.
Brake?
Hi.
Oh, no problem.
No problem. Okay.
Oh, tsukuba?
Scoop.
So, man, again, if you have no problem, don't create another problem. Don't unstable the whole setup by implementing a solution which is not needed for you. Especially to this car, if you actually, this is front, this is rear. If you'd put stronger brakes, I think even the discs were around something standard, or the pads were changed, but the discs I think also average. So that being a mid-engine car with the engine not in the front but in the back of your seats, that tend to rotate from the back. So if you put more powerful power brakes, more power, crazy, you unstable, you make it uncontrollable, you lose of course time, and it is actually harder for you to drive and to race and to control that craft, because it works against against you. It have more weight, more power, more, it's unstable. The same exact thing it's about the engine. When he asked if you fitted a Honda 2-liter inside here, and he also say too much power, too heavy, too whatever, it is unbalanced.
In Japan. How's it go?
No.
In Japan. In Japan. Are there K20? No.
20.
Honda K.
ああ、
K20.
もうね、
Yes.
weight balance, rear heavy.
So no balance. Okay.
No balance.
No balance, you shot at me. So whatever is much, man. Whatever is much is not good. Let's see some mtbair.com, whatever topics. I would actually start with what is at the bottom. The topic is sound like this: I'm looking for some advice and your experience around adding more power to my brakes. Currently on a set of XTR trail brakes with 180 rotors front and rear, Shimano Icetech. I have not had any issues with brake fade. I live in Colorado, I ride mostly trails but some resort park stuff. I am 185 pounds. Option, I'm considering to going 203 rotor. Clearly that would be a simple upgrade. Is it worth it? Will it help? Also considering going a Shimano 4-piston brake. Is it a better option? I presented you yesterday that in general 4-piston versus 2-piston, they say, intelligence artificial is saying that is an improvement of 15 to 20% more power. In my opinion, firstly, I didn't knew, but for 2 days or something, learning also with you, for you, and this video, I would actually now respond very sure at this. Yes, man, you can buy a 203 rotor which will improve your power with something around 10% more power. Also not having issues, as you can read here, with brake fade. Of course, with an increased rotor you will also didn't have. So if you want 10% more power, of course you can choose for a bigger rotor. Of course you can buy a front 4-piston XTR, as I have the 9120 BR. Alright, the 120 BR, which will also come with a more powerful gain, 15-20%, but if it's too much, of course you can downgrade again from 203 to 180 front, which will also improve the unsprung mass, rotational mass of the wheel, so you can flip it a bit more fast. Maybe you can't notice the difference, but if you don't need a 203 rotor, why not? And you also improve or upgrade with a bigger caliper. In any ways, if you also, as you can read here, taking in consideration a simple upgrade and also are how you can say, you pay attention to financial, so is it worth it, is it easy, is it hard, and things like this. Of course, let's talk about this and let's project these two versions, these two hypotheses. So in one hypothesis, if you just have a 180 front currently with that set of XTRs, two piston, of course, if you wear down, if you destroy, if you bend, whatever, the old 180 rotor, of course, you just bought a new bigger one, 203, you spend $50, whatever, on that one, maybe even less, I don't know, but from what we saw last time, Shimano is actually cheaper than the SRAM, which doesn't have cooling technologies, fins, and other technologies in them, and are also more expensive. And of course, you can think how much is the effort, how much is gonna cost me, and that's basically just the rotor, 203 millimeters rotor. On the other hand, if you just replace the front caliper with a 4-piston, now firstly you will want to explore the things a bit, both with the 180, the old rotor. In my opinion, firstly, without the pad with fins, with cooling fins, with just random standard normal cheap pads. So you can see if you can generate, if you can maintain the heat there. If it's overheating with 180 with no fins on the pads, maybe then you can try with improved cooling pads. So you can observe if even then you have too much heat in the rotor, even though he say very clearly, I don't have any heat problem, any fade, any nothing. Maybe if you would want even more power, then you could just also upgrade with a 200 front rotor. So in the end you would buy 200 front rotor, pads, and the 4-piston upgraded caliper. Also, you will have to rebleed the system. You will have to install whatever, if that's costing some money, or you can do it by yourself. Compared to the first, only replacing the disc, you just replace the disc. This only one cap, one screw, let's say like this, end of the story. No problem. Or the different adapter from 180 to 203, because is a improvement in the size. You need that adapter. Anyways, you need that even if you have 4-piston and you improve the size disc. After the whole situation, at the end, you paying all these parts, you will remain with 2-piston old XTR, which of course you can sell and recover some money, or again consider that somehow a loss, a spare part in case something breaks at the rear one, which never happens to a Shimano 2-piston, never, no problem. Anyways, if you compare if is it worth it, you make some calculations, simple calculations, and you decide if it worth or not. How I say, you want 10% more power, not 20, with how much difference come 4-piston against 2-piston. Upgrade the size of the disc. You want even a bit more power, change the pads, buy some more brutal, which bites a little bit harder, which create a bit more of heat because you also have the bigger rotor, no problem. What more you want in brakes? More power or less fade? I'm not having any issues with fade, I want more power, trying to figure out larger rotors or more powerful brake. Maybe both. As I said, I have never ridden with 203 rotor or a 4-piston brake. Maybe it will be in the end too much power, but you can how you say, you can explore this on yourself, on your money, of course. If you ask yourself if, or ourselves on these forums, is it worth it? Man, if you start like this with a low budget, then choose the alternative which you can afford, which is usually the more cheap one. A 180 rotor will be 12% more powerful than a 160 rotor. 4-piston calipers usually have pads with more area and dissipate heat better, so while not necessarily having more power, can be more fade heat resistant. Of course, pad material is material as well, as are other details of design. Trying larger rotor is a pretty inexpensive and easy, so I would suggest doing that first in the front. Usually it is desirable to have less braking power and better fine modulation in the rear, as is much easier to lock up. You can see here people know the truth, alright, they know the truth, they respond as I would respond, as my logic actually tells to me, but I try to make a distinct rule. For the front is trying, exploring, adjusting. For the rear, 4-piston. Man, trust me, no. Interesting. Just the opposite of what I said in the post immediately above. Regardless, going to a larger rotor is probably the cheapest option, which usually, as you said, in the road community, you can't do that. You can't do that because it's mass. It's more mass. It's more drag. You need to cool. It's a big problem. But in mountain bike community, you can just either scale bigger size rotor, or as you saw, you can choose a better Shimano with fins, not like that SRAM crap, or as you will see, even Magura does some good brakes rotors with some fins, with some coolings, even thicker. I had at the moment a thick disc and I sold it, I didn't care about. I don't have problems with Shimano, which is 1.85 millimeters new, to actually need 2.0, but anyways, each one is free to choose. The idea is the rotor need to have, if you have this need, to have the technology and the possibility to dissipate heat as much as possible, of course, without increasing the size. I can't see where more piston give more power. Power of the brake is mostly defined by the ratio of lever piston area to the total area of the caliper piston. If you want more leverage, you are going to have to run the piston closer to the rotor, which can run the rotor or increase the lever travel. Not much you can do with that. Simple physics, go a bigger rotor, proven to work, maybe change a different type of pad which has higher coefficients of friction. Again, incredible proven facts. Let's watch again the clowns community. Sorry, man.
Have more powerful brakes, so even if you're only going up and down a couple hundred feet on your ride, then you're still going to be very happy on your descent with more stopping power. Also,
yeah, if you buy this 4-piston for $250 from me, SRAM garbage trash crap. Put on some Saint calipers. I switch from XT calipers to Saint. The difference in power, lever, force is very apparent. So much so I downsized my rotors from 203 200 to 180 180. No more adapters, warp rotors, and zing 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 on hard turns. Again, this is another solution, also very good solution. Very good solution. Only in this situation you can understand that you can also, if you want a faster rolling wheel set and you don't generate that much heat and you have some 180 good rotors and you don't need 203 and you tested, so you are sure you don't overheat the rotors. Of course you can install 4 pistons with lower disc. Again, in mountain bike community you are free to do that, and is also, as you can see, a solution. But where this guy is actually wrong, because he is talking about plural caliper S calipers. Alright, so if this guy actually is saying at the first place, man, I use 2-piston, I have no problem with cooling, with whatever heat, brake fade, whatever, is it worth it to invest my money to whatever? Man, to just install a Saint 4-piston caliper on the rear with 180, so this guy also in the beginning said 180 front and rear I-stack. Why would you just increase the power on the rear wheel with no reason to do that? The 2-piston being more than enough. You can just lock that rear wheel so easy, and heat with 180 is not that much. Also, as I presented you the beginning of this break, long story short, the control on a 180 disc with a 2-piston compared with 180, the control, not the power, with two piston on 160 is different. So I much rather recommend for the control, for the power, for the heating capacity, a 180 rotor in the back with 2-piston than a 4-piston 180 in the back, or 2-piston 160. It is alright, you know, but anyways, or let's say like this, either a 160 with fins with ice technology with good cooling, or a 180 no cooling systems with some fins, maybe if it overheats at the caliper. So increase a bit the size a bit more power, less possibility to transfer heat and to lose and to dissipate heat, but in the end, with the heat dissipation being somehow exactly there, 180 in my opinion on the rear is somehow better, not because you go faster. We are not at road races, we are not gravel riders, we are not cyclocross or whatever, we are mountain bikers, so of course if we can improve the control of the rear wheel with a bigger diameter, why not? The number of pistons has no effect on the power of brake system. None. Man, I don't think this is right, but anyways. Rotor size, pad friction and leverage ratio do, of course. More pistons tend to apply pressure evenly, giving you better modulation. Yes, man, but you have a bigger, where is that? A bigger pad friction on a bigger surface, so of course is more friction there. Getting bigger front rotor will give you more power and fade resistance. Modulation will depend on how much lever force is required and whether it's in your sweet spot of control. Generally, larger rotor are more abrupt, but if you are crushing your levers to stop, now they will feel much better controlled. Moving to 4-piston, brakes will maintain lever effort and power, but should be better controlled. Not on the rear, trust me. Higher leverage increase your overall stopping power at the same lever pressure. So yeah, it's more power at the same leverage ratio. Even if you try to say it other words is the same thing. Larger pads increase your overall stopping power at the same lever pressure. This should be a linear change within the same compound. Higher friction pads increase your overall stopping power at the same lever pressure. Compounds act differently and have big effect of feel. Yep. Get a bigger rotor up front. It's easy and cheap. So if you think like this guy, all these things, and also if you try some different pads, different rotors, different size rotors, different manufacturer, and like this, you're on the good path. Even though you think you talk about front, even though you talk about rear, in the end, if you unbalance the things, you will find some balance by experimentation. This is long. Let's go to... Alright, let's see this because he says it's heavy. I'm 230 lbs. I'm heavy. I started with 180 front, then 203 XT brakes. After 2 years, I installed in my TB3 4-piston XT brakes. Really love how it feels. The modulation on the brake lever is amazing, better control, and of course the pads are bigger than normal XT brakes. If you have the money, go for 4-piston. So if you have the money and you are also higher in the weight category, of course go with 4-piston. But do you actually need 4-piston in the rear, or you need a bigger rotor in the rear to also have to compensate the power with 10%, or how someone around here said 16%? No, 12% here. Yeah, 12%. So increasing 12% in the back, so not 15-20, but maintaining a good control, a better control with a 4-piston only in the front. I think also for big guys heavy guys. This is a reason, as you saw previously, the actual formulas, calculations, ways are not just how heavy, how whatever. Mass can influence different things. So if you are heavy, fine. If you use an e-bike which is 10 kilograms more, let's say in average, fine. But in general, mass is not biggest and most important factor when it comes to heat generation, dissipation, whatever. The speed is, and also because we are not road racers, as those guys said, we can dissipate heat much better. We also have a wider tire, we have more grip, we can use also bigger rotors, no problem. Racing or just having fun, very important note. With a lot of money or with a low budget. I order of price, just follow this and stop when sold. Large rotor front, large rotor back, 4 piston brake Z or Saint if you stay in Shimano world, or maybe new XT pod. Yep, but only one, only in front if you want. And experiment with pads. You should note here pads, different pads. Cool finned, standard pads, whatever. For a given rotor and a given hydraulic line pressure, a greater piston area will deliver more clamping force. True, changing the leverage ratio will increase the clamping force. Making a simple piston larger will do the same thing. Changing the piston area will increase clamping force. If the height of the rotor sweep area is 50 millimeters, you cannot have a 30 millimeters clamping piston clamping down on it effectively. You can have 2, 4 or 6 15 millimeter pistons distributing the same hydraulic pressure over a great area, thus increasing clamping force. Just increasing a single piston diameter with no limits doesn't work for a given rotor. Only if you increase the size of the brake pad. Many car and truck application use much larger pads than on our bikes with a single piston. Of course, this is what I try to say. More piston is mean nothing. You need to think in terms of friction, in terms of heat dissipation, in terms of do I have enough power? Do I have enough power in front, in the rear? Anyways, long narrow pads work better with more pistons. It is assumed that the brake pads will cover the piston, but the size of the pad itself is not the source of the power. It is the piston area. Distributing the force piston across the pad to maximize contact area is more relevant than the brake pad size alone. The car and truck application have much larger rotors and much larger piston, master cylinders, etc. Of course, booster in like etc. I'm suggesting that all those things being equal, hydraulic line pressure, rotor model, dimensions, pad material, more piston area translate to more power, brake power. It's not the amount of brake pad material, so I disagree. More piston can indeed improve the power of a braking system, all other things being equal. So I agree, more pistons can indeed improve the power of a brake system, all other things being equal. Yes. Simple, not true. You are changing the leverage ratio and pad size. Simply true. The more piston area, ceteris paribus, and more power. Multiple piston can maximize the piston area for a fixed swept area, giving you more power. Pad size is not relevant assuming the pads cover the piston area. If this were not true, why do we see 6 piston calipers on the fastest cars or 4 piston XT Saints calipers? It's not just the sake of modulation. Let me show you just this Hope 6 anyway. Hope 6, as you can see. Hope made a few years back in the day a 6-piston caliper, which of course, what do you think it have? Power, man, power. It have more power. Alright? So this 6 pod design is also the difference in R1 and RN12, which one you can see come with 1, 2 with 4 piston brake front caliper, and in the RN19, which my cousin had, that's why I was inspired, and also in the Anazo use, it has 6 upgraded, new version. Show me. You can see 1, 2, 3. I want to see it clear. 1, 2, 3. You can see here. 1, 2, 3. Anyways, there are a lot of factors that go into this. One, on the XT2 to 4-piston case is longer pads and revised leverage ratio. We're discussing these factors, so please elaborate. It would be much cheaper to make larger brake pads versus complex multi-piston calipers. Why don't these brake manufacturers get smart and just make big brake pads for the same caliper? It would be such an expensive solution for more power. You should educate the folks at Brembo. But not power. I think that it does. Larger pads distribute the force over a larger area, so the PSI pressure is lower, but the area is higher. I believe that this has some effect of coefficient of friction. Perhaps you should inform the engineers that make their website, blah blah. 3. Only increasing the effective radius of the disc, the caliper piston area, the line pressure, or the coefficient of friction can increase brake torque. Increasing the pad area will decrease pad wear and improve the fade characteristics of the pads, but it will not increase the brake torque. Very strange. So that's why maybe this artificial intelligence responded me that way, and I found so hard that value of 20%. Maybe it will be true. I don't know. It could be true. So how much gain I in power I is from 2-piston to 4-piston calipers for bikes. Value or oh, incredible. Today is 20 to 40%. Last time was none. $20 to $30. Anyways, and in the end it will be something 15 to 20. Yeah, anyway,